Good executions learned? That's a really good question. I kind of want to answer that because I have my own thoughts. Because there's a couple things when you're talking about video games. There's hand-eye coordination. There's your reaction speed to actual moves, like the frames in which it's moving and how you can react to it. I think the input is the perspective we're talking about. Like you inputting something to do a certain command or action. But the problem with execution is it's used very broadly. Right, so like, okay, hold on. This is actually a perfect example. So Flash, since you're in the stream, let's humor this conversation. You're looking at two characters right here on the screen that are execution based. Very different execution. Let me explain. What Flash is doing is his wave dashing and his PGFs. That is extremely fast and perfectly inputted commands that he's doing. Whereas Lee, it's all rhythm based. So, for example, if I do like while standing 2-3, he can punish it. Flash dies can. It's -13, and he has the ability with that PGF punish it, right? So if I'll go ahead and do that. See if he can punish it. Right there. Okay, so that's a -13 move. He's doing a perfect input to do that. So the point that I'm making here, right, is he has to not only react to the move he's blocking and the block stun that comes with it, but then he has to also put in an input perfectly. Right, so there's a reaction to a move, and then there's an input. Those are two things that you have to do for a good execution. You have to be able to react to what you're blocking in terms of defense, and then in your offense have an input. So you're reacting to an output, and then you respond with an input in a timely manner, and with a perfect input in this case. So that's why it's considered high execution. Now, there's also Lee's side of it, right? And so when someone does a -10 to 12 frame move, something like that, Lee has Acid Rain, right? So Acid Rain is not the same in terms of the execution barrier. It's a rhythm based. So I'm using rhythm and timing to punish this. I'm not using super fast inputs. It's actually the opposite. I'm using very specifically time-placed inputs in this execution example, right? That's Lee in a nutshell. So where Kazuya is all about the speed of inputs, accuracy and speed, Lee's about accuracy with rhythm, not with the speed of it. So like when you say, can you learn execution? I think it depends on the type. Can everyone do execution? It depends on the type. I'm very good with rhythm things. I always have been. So execution comes very naturally for me with Lee. So the question is, what kind of person are you? Are you able to have good timing on things? Or do you have very fast inputs? You know, what's your style here? And what do you want to work towards? I think they both take work. They're different kinds of work. And I've done both, right? Because I come from a Mishima background. But I will tell you, in my eyes, the rhythm kind, like Lee's, can be much more consistent, right? It can be much more consistent in my eyes. Because once you get the rhythm down and you make it muscle memory, it's not too difficult. I think that no matter how much you practice trying to do like a PGF, even if you can do it somewhat consistently, it'll always be difficult. You get better and better at it, right? The more and more you practice it, but it's never not going to be a barrier. Acid Rain is not a barrier for me at this point. Sometimes I mess it up, of course, but there are times where I've played a whole set without messing it up. You're talking 30, 40 Acid Rains, 50 Acid Rains, and it's not a problem for me. Where if you watch someone who is even like Knee or Kudans or Boa, they're going to mess up constantly in sets. It's going to be something that you see over and over that they mess up. Now, sometimes they'll hit it, but they'll also mess it up a lot too. If you see Flash, he has very quick inputs. Not everyone's going to not only want to do that or can do that or want to spend the time to do that, right? So it just depends on what you want to do. Well, yeah, I mean, that's my input on it. That's the way I feel about execution, right? I mean, look, Acid Rain, right? It's consistent. It's something I can do consistently. But even the best of players, even the Mishima specialists, are going to struggle always doing a PGF punish, right? That's just the way it is. Even if he can do it, it's going to be always difficult to do consistently. So I think, though, the bottom line, if you want to learn it, you can learn it. Most people can, at least. Now, of course, that's not everyone. Not everyone can do it. That myth that everyone can do everything is just not true. Thinking in that way is silly because it's just not true. Not everyone can be me. Not everyone can be, Kudans. But if you really want it, you should go for it, and you likely can if you put in the effort. The problem isn't that everyone can't do it most of the time either. It's not everyone has fortitude to go through with something if it becomes too difficult. That's a lot of the issue. That's Tekken in a nutshell. Why do you think so many players drop off of Tekken? It's because that barrier, right? There's a barrier there. People don't want to, they don't want to work on. They'd rather play Call of Duty. It's easier to pick up Call of Duty very quickly.